Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Rugby Bits podcast. As you can clearly hear, Tala is not here. Unfortunately, he's stuck at work. These real life things are a bit shitty, but they happen. So you're stuck with me today. I'm Shawn, and I'm joined by the legend Kooks.
Hey, Shoki. Hello, guys. Real life is getting in the way for most of us. Yeah, Tala's still working at his real job, and then Jared is still too cool for us. So real life is definitely winning at the moment.
Yeah, I know. It's the nature of the beast. But what a cracking weekend of rugby. I mean, some highlights would be like Reds, the Drua, and Italy and England. I mean, who would have thought England beating Ireland would have been a highlight, Cooks?
I mean, don't forget the French learning how to play rugby again as well. That's also
It's true, eh? It's true. That
yeah,
slipped by me. Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a big weekend for upsets. I mean, Drua. The Rays knocking over the Chiefs. Italy, and then obviously the England game. So and good rugby all around. Yeah? I think it was in general was just a good healthy weekend of rugby. No complaints. Tries were scored. Probably one of the better ones this year.
Happy days. I know it was a great weekend. Probably the best weekend of Six Nations rugby we've had in a long time. But before we get stuck into the meat and the gravy of the weekend, we relaunched in a way, in inverted commas, the first phase. We've been a bit bad, and by we I mean me, about putting first phase out, and it's a good lot of fun. This one I dragged up from a list that I put down that we were kind of spitballing about a while ago. But this week's first phase is with an eye on the cricketers, because the cricketers, I mean, Cooks, who your cricketers walk out to bat and they've got a song playing. Who's your favorite?
I used to love Jacques Callis back in the day. Life is life. Only because I mean, our team used to be so good. Like we'd be 20 for 2, and then life is coming down, and then Shark Colors is walking into bed. You just knew that everything was going to be okay. Everything was going to be okay because Shark Colors was a better day. He's going to get 100. Hashim Am's on the other side. It just was never a time I panicked when I heard Life is Life. I mean, obviously you have the old classics, Galagata or Sean Pollock, but it's something that I think I tweeted a couple of years ago. Like they really need to bring that back. Like cricketers, because you knew a certain player. Like if let's say you were watching the cricket and you were say maybe getting something to eat and you weren't watching that, like you hear a certain song, you're okay, Makai and is about to bowl. Or Galagata, okay, Sean Park's gonna come back and bowl. So you almost knew cricketers by their theme song.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this week's first phase was, if your favorite rugby player could run onto the field with a theme song, what would it be? So a scrummaging fly half got back to us with an absolute belter. Hachiva Diamani, he would run out to the Shawn Michaels intro song. So Shawn Michaels from WWF or WWE, whatever. But his song was Sexy Boy. Now, I thought I was actually going to do that for Hoagie, but I thought I've got another one. I'm going to do Hoagie as well, but I thought that was quite a good one to get going with. Cooks, anyone like a couple for you?
I thought the Bomb Squad should have like the Undertaker theme song, that boom. Because when they come on, like it just
But the
spells doom.
7-1.
For the
When the
7-1,
7-1 walks onto the field at once, that is incredible.
That would have been that would have been perfect. I think Louis Rees Zammit should have Thunderstruck. I mean, obviously, Reese Lightning. I think that would suit him perfectly after his score. I mean, they do try now. I mean, obviously, with Mind the Box, it's got money, 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 and then I think like Bill Martu. I would love to hear Undertaker Gong, and obviously Rees Zammit when he comes back from American football to come back with Thunderstruck.
Yeah, I was actually busy trying to get a song here quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, that was brilliant. I was trying to do that and I got zapped with an ad on YouTube. But yeah, so I was going to go with Hoagie, and then the right said Fred, I'm too sexy. But that was just no disrespect to Hoagie. It wasn't a dig at you at all. It was more I was pushed for time, so I had to find something. It was low hanging fruit. But yeah, there are a couple of big boys. I really like that Undertaker one, but it can only be played when all seven come on at once. I think that should
100%.
be the rule.
Or at least when they're like the three, like the front row change when they come on together. Like especially if it's like before a
Yes.
scrum. That's the perfect time to play it.
You know, the whole truth of this is literally in our hands. Like we can do our bit to get hold of the stadium DJ. I mean, we've got to the dirt trackers have got to know someone who knows someone. Kooks, you must know someone who knows someone. We've got to get this going. Like just it doesn't have to be official, but it can be played and it'll be listened to around the world when it comes. I think we need to start working on this a little bit.
Well, stadium DJs are in grave danger now because I saw a tweet saying one thing that helped England win is they stopped using the stadium DJ and just went back to old school singing. So I'm like, stadium DJs right now are concerned all over the world.
Sheesh, eh? That's true. That's true. Well, after that bit of fun and games, I think, Kooks, I'm not sure I'm going to go Super Rugby first, but I will say, as I said off airs, I didn't watch a hell of a lot of it. I was actually at NSRI training on Saturday, going through the waves on the Little Duck, getting panelled. So I missed most of the Super Rugby. But what I did pick up was the Crusaders have played 3, lost 3.
Sure. I mean, first time, I think, what's 96, 7, I
6,
think. Yeah, since
96, I
96,
think.
since their first season of Super Rugby ever. So, yeah, not good history being made by them. And, geez, I mean, they do. I don't think, I'm actually want to see if Crusaders have ever won a game in Fiji in Super Rugby because the Chiefs have put them there a couple of times and they tend to struggle in Fiji. I mean, so, I mean, that could be an interesting stat to look at. But, yeah, I think. I don't want to write them off too early. I mean, obviously, like Tyler said, I mean, it is a. I mean, I think there's 12. How many teams are there? I think there's 12 teams and 8 go through or something. Like, yeah, pretty much everyone has a chance to make the playoffs in the Super Rugby Pacific. So I'm not writing them off, but yeah, they definitely don't feel or look like the same Crusaders, and rightfully so. I mean, they have lost a shit ton of players. The coaching staff basically has been decimated now. It's starting afresh, and I think it's everyone wants to see a good run come to an end eventually. I mean, they have won like 7 straight. So, yeah, it's just weird for the Crusaders to be naught for 3 to start the season.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like the Super Rugby management and powers that be took a page out of the Champions Cup setup where everyone qualifies for some form of a playoff. So it
Yeah,
sucks.
pretty much.
And I don't think any group of fans, everyone talks about how the fans want stuff and we should really look after the fans because the fans are gonna like obviously be paying all the monies moving forward in rugby or any sport. And everyone says listen to the fans, but it seems like the more tournaments that come around or the more adjustments to tournaments, the more chance you have of making a knockout place. So, I mean, like, let's be honest, Champions Cup, the round of 16, home and away, I think, or yeah, I think it was home and away. Like, it was just meh. It wasn't fantastic. And Crusaders losing the opening 3 games, it should mean something. It doesn't. The only thing it means is for the opposition to beat them and the record books. But other than that, they're going to make it. And if the Crusaders are in a knockout game, they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, that's the frustrating part is you don't even have to have a winning record to get into the playoffs. I mean, we saw that with certain sides, and that does take a little bit of a glistening off it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic win for the draw. Not
Yes.
gonna run their part. I mean, it's back to back years now they've beaten the Crusaders. I mean, they're starting a bit of a.
And they've been an amazing addition, eh?
Yeah, they have been, and I think, and we've seen the effects of it with Fiji as well. Just we saw in the World Cup what's happened with the Drua spending so much time together, which means hopefully it makes Fiji a lot more competitive and get hopefully get added into bigger competitions. But yeah, Shark was a good weekend of Super Rugby. But what I find interesting when I was watching Super Rugby this weekend is like the All Blacks don't have depth at 10. I know Bodden Barrett comes back, but he hasn't played fly half pretty much for 2-3 years now. He's almost been he's moved back since pretty much since 2019. He's hardly played 10. I mean, he's been the fullback. I mean, Steve Hansen been a fullback, and now he sort of comes back, and then obviously was at 10. I'm still not convinced about Dave McKenzie at 10, and this weekend again, it's just a high error rate sometimes, especially in a close game. But then from there, the cupboard is bare. Yes, they've got youngsters coming through, but Sharky, do you think it's time for Razor to see if Reece Special's got any key relatives? I mean, like, are we at that
Form
stage?
fly half by far.
Yeah, yes, he's been cooking.
Yeah, he's in incredible form. I bet you it's not only Razor looking for some Kiwi heritage. I think Gatlin's trying to get him back into Wales. So yeah, that's that's quite something. You know, I agree with you. 10 is 10 is like they're one injury away from being in deep shit. That's how I like
Yeah,
to look at it. Like they are one, whether it's McKenzie or Barrett, they're one injury away from being in trouble. Because if I'm not mistaken, those are the 2 10s that are going to take them through this year. So
yeah,
it's going to be very interesting. The other space, so they've got a lot of youngsters there. They've got a couple of guys that have been capped like once or twice. Perifeta, there's another one, Ioane, maybe. He's been capped a couple of times. But it's no one that's really like we used to seeing with New Zealand rugby. Like someone has come through the NPC and you're just looking at him going, cool, he's definitely going to get a Super Rugby contract and he's definitely going to be in with a shot for the All Blacks come November at least, you know? Yeah, that's a big space. I'll tell you something. The other space that I really think could be a massive hassle for them is 8. Um, they, yeah, it's an interesting space for them. I know Artie's playing there, but I mean, he can play like anywhere. They got a couple of guys coming back, but I think 8 is probably the one space that they're struggling the most, besides 10. But we'll see what
yeah.
happens.
And Lock, don't forget about Lock as well. Lock as well. They have cover there, but there's it's all pretty much untested. I mean, you have Scott Barrett,
And
but
Guzler,
yeah, and then but again, it's like besides him, it's almost like then you got a few untested youngsters, Josh Lord and guys like that. So it's gonna be very interesting for them because I mean, obviously they got this incredibly stacked coaching lineup. So and also didn't help that Richie Wonga goes and scores an incredible try from the halfway line in the Japanese league on the weekend. So it's gonna
in his
be
new home away from home. He'll play the
yeah,
next World Cup in Japanese colors. Judging by
yeah,
his interview the first week he was there.
yeah, 100%. Like I think that's his plan. But I mean, before we move to Bradley, what I did also find very interesting, and I was like, do you know who's got the best gig? I think this year in international rugby is Joe Schmidt. Imagine having a blank canvas. Number
100%.
one, you're picking up the shit show that Eddie left last year. You're not expected to win games. I don't think results for them. They'll obviously want to win. I mean, do well, but like, there's not much expectation from Joe Schmidt. You got there are still promising youngsters there. I mean, I watched the Reds game. I mean, like, geez, there's still guys who can play. Like, well, really good. Harry Wilson was good. McGrath, Josh Luke, Tom Liner he looked very good as well. And like, there's still, I mean, like a loose trio of like, for example, like Valentini, McGrath, and Wilson. That's a very good loose trio. So I was thinking, and now they've even gone to 10th now, Italy winning. So like Joe Schmidt, for example, like he's got nothing to lose this year, and everything to
Nothing.
gain because they can't possibly get any worse than last year. That's
So
they're at rock bottom now at the moment.
yeah, to put things in perspective, Joe Smith is essentially Rusty Rasmus in 2018.
Yeah,
Like he's got a great rugby brain. He's got the ability to draw great coaching staff. Like he's I think he's that well respected, and he's got a great rugby brain. Um, and yeah, they are going to be a team to watch out for. I think this year will be a bit shaky for them, but as with like England, I mean, yeah, as with England and a few other teams, like they're trying to find their feet again. It's probably next year we're looking forward to seeing things. But I was just thinking about it. I know we've kind of bounced off Super Rugby. We'll go back to results now, but like, what an incredible rugby championship we're in for. Like, we've got Russie as head coach now, I do believe that SA Rugby are close to filling that position of director of rugby that's been vacated by Rassie. We've got the Springboks doing their thing, and there's not major changes in the books. We've got a lot of upcoming youngsters, but there will be changes, and there will be things that we need to see in what we're going to change. Like, I'm more excited to see what is going to change in the next 4 years. Like, are we going to revamp? What are we revamping, and how? Then we've got the Aussies and Joe Schmidt, just like we've spoken about. We've got Razor and the All Blacks, and and we've got Argentina, who I think will probably be a little bit disappointed, for the World Cup. Like, they didn't pitch up in 2 games. One was the game against England, where they were just blown away by George Ford, and the other game was the quarterfinal, where they really didn't put a good shot. So there's there's a lot to look forward to this year.
No, 100%. I mean, in saying that, I mean, me, the always wanting the ultimate 100% from the Springboks. We still should comfortably win the rugby championship. That's my feeling. We still the best side there.
We got Aussie. We got Aussie twice away, which is a problem for me.
Oh yeah, geez, yeah. It's in our contract for us to lose.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we just put the brakes on everything? Jared, my friend, obviously the money cleared. How are you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, good. A fantastic weekend of the Six Nations. I just thought that I had a minute, and I thought we have to come on and have a chat about Scotland's downfall this weekend. I saw Kooks was on the podcast. We have to talk about Finn and Finn's failure and the Italian uprising.
There we go. Well, we busy tinkering around with Super Rugby, but yeah, Kooks, go ahead.
I just love how Jared just waits. Like he just waits for the Super Rugby chat to come to the end. Just have a dig at. Do you have a dig at Scotland? This is what Jared does. This is why I said don't put the check in this week. This is why you guys approved the Jared signing for the Monday when my phone was off.
Well, Jared, welcome. We were just actually busy feeling around at the Rugby Championship and saying how exciting it is with the All Blacks and Razor and what's happening there, and Joe Schmidt and the Aussies and the Springboks. So we're in for a pretty good one. Do you have any parting thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, a bit sad for Joe that he hasn't even played a test match, and the Australians have already slipped down the world rankings.
Twice.
Joint worst ever ranking. Yeah, twice. Yeah, you're right, Shocky. But yeah, I think it's going to be incredibly interesting. I think Schmidt's going to get a lot more out of the Aussies than Eddie did, and I think he's going to bring a lot more structure to them, which I think they need. Like, I think the Australians want to play very jouet kind of French style of rugby, but it doesn't really suit them anymore. I don't think. I think they don't really have the talent that they used to in like the 90s, where that really played in their favor. So I think they do need a little bit more structure, especially up front, that can get the best out of them. So yeah, I think the Aussies are going to be quite a difficult team. The Argentinians are going to bring something completely different with Contempomi there. I think they'll bring a lot of Leinster as well. So we'll have 2 sort of Leinster game plans in playing against the Argentinians and the Aussies, and yeah, then whatever Razor cooks up.
Yeah. You're talking about 1990s Aussies. I mean, Jared, you're probably still in your nappies then, man. You must have burned YouTube to death catching up on those players.
No, exactly. I'm still a massive fan of Joe Roth. He did flow into my day and age of rugby. But yeah, I love Joe Roth. Like out of all the Australian players, I know like everyone goes to Latham and Larkham, but Roth for me was just insane.
It was a weapon. Okay, right. We've sort of panned around a lot here. So the Rebels beat Pacifica, Crusaders beat the Drua, the Drua beat the Crusaders, which we spoke about. Hurricanes beat the Blues. The Waratahs lost narrowly to the Highlanders. Kooks, you were chatting to me about this. What happened?
Yeah, flipping out. It was a good game of rugby. I mean, the Tars looked like they were about to steal the end, but the Highlanders found a way. In the new, maybe newish Kiwi and Reese Patch was probably the full flower of Super Rugby words that we probably would not thought we were ever going to say at the start of 2024.
Yeah, exactly. Brumbies
Yeah,
beat the Force by
pa-
3. Sorry, Jared. My man, I apologize.
yeah. No, it's all good. But I was just I think I put it on Twitter as well. But Patchell just looks like a Weasley. Like he could have fitted into the Harry Potter series perfectly, like a Weasley, one of Ron's cousins or something. When I saw him in that Highlanders kit, for some reason it just clicked.
Yeah, crazy. Good times. He's having the time of his life in New Zealand. And the other great result of the weekend in Super Rugby is Reds beating the Chiefs 25-19. Pretty sure everyone's seen that final try and the celebrations afterwards. What an incredible result, Jared.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It is an incredible result. I did not see very much Super Rugby this weekend. I was all focused on the Six Nations, but yeah, for the Reds to beat Super Rugby finalists from the Super Rugby finals of last season, the Reds have always been a dodgy team to play against. Always nasty up front and got some flair in the backs. Sounds all very cliche, but I think it's pretty true with them. And I think Les Kiss is just the kind of coach they need. And yeah, I think Brad Thorne had a great run, but I think Les Kiss, the Reds are reaping the rewards of London Irish, unfortunately, going under.
Yeah. Okay, just quickly going to run through some of the under 20 results. So France beat Wales, Italy thumped Scotland. So interestingly enough, Italy's under 20 and men's side are unbeaten in the Six Nations for the last 2 weeks, which is pretty incredible. And then incredible game, England versus Ireland, 2 unbeaten sides. England go ahead with minutes to spare, and somehow Ireland come back and draw level. So what a great game and result. The score 32-all. I'm not sure if any of you guys watched it, but yeah, sheesh, it's all happening, and it played at the Rec. So what a great result. The rest of the the Six Nation will be decided this week coming. So yeah, right, on to the big stuff. Kooks, I'm going to start with you. We'll do the first game of the Six Nations, which was Italy versus Scotland. I'm not sure if you saw it, but Italy won.
I did, unfortunately. I watched the meltdown in all its glory. Oh, jeez, just incredible result for Italy. But just I'll start on the negatives, which is the Scottish side, which fuck me, find just no find new ways to just fall apart and collapse in games. It's like we saw it against Wales when they just basically had that meltdown in the second half, and it was similar again against Italy in the first half. I mean, I thought, jeepers, at 14, like, okay, cool. Scotland is going to be in cruise mode, yeah, in control of the game, and then they just like revert back to type. Like as soon as the commentator started mentioning the fact that like if they win this game, they could put themselves in a position to win the Six Nations. They're like, nope, we're going to fall apart. We're just going to like why put ourselves in contention to sort of win the Six Nations when we could just fall apart again and lose and find a way to lose a game. As good as Italy were, Scotland had a proper meltdown there. Oh, like
Yeah.
I'm not even surprised anymore because I said to you guys, it's always coming. The problem is now it's when is it going to be after they beat England? It's always a game after they beat England. That's the problem.
Yeah. Jared, there were a heap of players that stood out, but for me, we'll start off now as the loose trio for Italy. Michele Lamaro, captain. I know that you'll chat, sort of tell everyone what we were chatting about on the group on Saturday and Sunday. Sebastian Negri and Ross Vincent. So that loose trio to me probably one of the most balanced at the moment, but it comes more to the fact that Ross Vincent is just absolutely cooking.
Yeah, he's taken his shots with both hands, and yeah, I think Italy were really boosted by Negri coming back. Like he is a tank, and like he really put the Scots under pressure. I think the main turning point in the game was Pierre Schoeman's like off the ball hit on who was it again?
I actually can't remember, but It was milked.
Yeah,
Well,
it was milked, but it was also blatant. It was on Vincent
yes.
actually, but it was diabolical. Like he purposely ran. You could see he put the shove in. Yes, they made the most of it, but sometimes you do have to get that to get the right decision. And like whether he milked it or not, he was still probably going to go down. Like a prop that size running at you, and you pretty much defenseless. There's only one way to go. So
South Africa and
yeah,
South Africa violence, eh?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, right after that, then Linus scores his try, then Varney scores, and Italy are right back in. And I mean, it was like that. You could say is a 14-point swing, especially with the way Russell was kicking. Or 12-point swing. Obviously missed that one. And yeah, I really think we need to start a GoFundMe account to get Paulo Gerbisi a new kicking tee before Saturday. Like I think he's desperate for one.
True story. Kooks up front as a whole, Italy came away with the win, but I think they just worked a lot harder. The interesting thing is Scotland won a few, well, some of the tight phases, specifically the scrummaging, but they never really got on top of Italy. What is the reason for that? Did Italy just want it more? Were they more in the game, or the guys just fizzled out?
Yeah, no, I think they just never got on. Like you say, they never got on top of Italy. And the thing is, the one thing you could say with Italy now under Gonzalo Cossetti is the fact that they don't go away. They almost get stronger and stronger as the game goes, and it's like you, if you're not, if you're gonna keep them just lingering around the same way France did, and then you're gonna lose, or you're gonna flip and allow them come in the game and they can dominate you. I think that's what Scotland did. Obviously, Piers Kumman's brain fart didn't help, but yeah, I just thought with Scotland, like they just didn't get a proper grip of their game, especially up front. And then once they tell us sort of believing, and obviously then they've got their home crowd behind them. And then, I mean, Negri, I mean, Jeep Pizarro is an absolute tank. I mean, Lamaras, I mean, Jared was at 27 tackles on the weekend. And it's just like they just got stronger and stronger as the game went, and the belief got more and more as the game went. And I think with Scotland, it's like they've got this thing where it's weird, where it's like the best teams in the world, for example, find ways to close out games like that. And Scotland have still got this block of being able to collapse, and Italy took full advantage of it. I mean, I know, like for example, like the French have been in situations against Italy, and yes, they got the draw the last time, and the French somehow always find ways to sneak past Italy. Whereas like Scotland is still that's probably the missing link in their game, and I just thought even at the end of the then once Scotland, even the pack, once they start losing and start chasing the game, they start playing so loose. I mean, like that offload by Dempsey at the end to create the knock on probably summed them up. And I was like, well, you could just hold onto the ball and just create one more phase. So yeah, flipping hell. I mean, I would hate to be in that Scottish video session this morning.
Yeah. When coming to the backs, for me, the backs were, I mean, you can't only have the backs performing and the forwards not. So we've chatted about the forwards, you've really done well. But the Italian backline, I mean, we've spoken a lot about Menicello Brex, the midfield partnership, where I know that I've said that I prefer to have Brex at 12. And I think they do interchange a little bit in the game. But what an absolutely incredible performance by that midfield. The one player for me that I really feel is probably the biggest support to that midfield and an unsung hero is Monty Ioane. I thought he did so well, especially on defense. He was incredible with ball in hand. He's pretty ruthless when he gets going. But the big talking point, Jared, is Louis Liner. Lewis. Yo, I got that wrong. Absolutely. I mean, he's making a move away from Quins. He's been overlooked by England, and he's signed for Benetton, I think. I'm not sure. But either which way, he's been drafted into the squad and made a starting debut and scored a try on debut. What an amazing time for him and his family.
Yeah, you can't ask for much more, hey. And his dad was in the stands as well.
Yeah.
I think he said his cousin was there as well. But yeah, just you can't script it much better than that. Like Yeah, I thought he was going to get thrown out in the last round against France, but they obviously felt like Scotland was a better fit, and yeah, he put really up against it with Duan van der Merwe on the other side of the field team, and I think he made all of his tackles. I don't think he missed any, but yeah, so amazing performance from him. He's had struggles with injuries, so I think like being overlooked by England is maybe a bit harsh, but he's definitely earned his opportunity and he took it with both hands. So fair play to him. In the midfield, I think you mentioned quite a bit about Menoncello, but Brex was outstanding. He, I just still think he's a bit too slow for a Test 13, but that didn't really matter.
It's all I think about when he plays well is how you just talk about saying how slow he is. That's all I think about.
I don't get it. I don't get how he gets away with it. Like he just like any Test 13 is pretty quick, and for him it's not.
Kooks, the one thing I will say, I thought that Duan van der Merwe got more involved in the game. Little bit more involved in the game off his wing, should I say, like more coming in. It looked like he was attacking more in the midfield. It seems like they probably did that to make up for the two Piloto loss.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think that the two Pilotos was two Piloto miss cheapest Cooks was a big one because I think it's one of the best 12s in the world, and I think that physicality brings it at 12 is massive, and I do think that trying to use Duan up front in the midfield did help negate that a little bit, but yeah, I think when you have someone like Tupeluda, especially, the nice thing about it is you can just almost just give him the ball in front in first phase when you want to control a game, and just a nice big body to have. And I do think he was a massive loss for them, and especially against that Italian midfield duo, because they were putting in hits, and somehow Tupeluda would have been so perfect for Scotland this weekend.
Yeah. Jared, where did it go wrong for Scotland? What was the broad look at what happened to them and where they went wrong?
I think that's a pretty tough question because I don't think they played like overly. I don't think they played particularly like terribly. Like I think they just allowed Italy to take over the game, and they never like really won the small battles to get back into the game. Like you need to win those small battles to shift momentum back into your favor, and they just never did that. And even those the late tries, the late try for Sam Skinner, like they just sort of left it too late to switch back on. And yeah, maybe they stick to like their systems and their game plan too much, and like they back it too much, and they're not willing to change things up enough. Like they were getting good purchase from their mauls and the battles up front, and they just kept on wanting to go to the backs and play attractive rugby, and maybe that's their downfall.
Do you know what? I think with Scotland, I think it's time for a change now. I mean,
who's on the chopping block now, Kooks?
No, Gregor Townsend, for example. Like it's I think it's the similar way. Like Jared, you mentioned like Brad Thought, for example, the red side. I feel like Townsend has taken the Scottish side as far as he can go, because my thing is like, how many more third place finishes, second team, where you beat England and then they beat Wales, and then, for example, like it's almost the same thing every year. Now, obviously, at the Italy loss, but it's at one moment they would look like world beaters, and then it's find silly ways to get themselves out of the tournament. So, at what point do you say, okay, listen, mate, you've taken us as far as you can. It's still a very good side. You still have a good side there and a potential for that side. Because there's a stage, for example, like say 2 weeks ago, they looked like the second best team in the competition. They could still been unbeaten bar a late French trial in a game they should have won. So now you got to get how far can you go? Like, are they willing to just to keep going? Play 5 games, win 3, lose 2. Like, is that going to be like in the World Cup? There are no show. So I think for me, if I'm Scotland, I think it's time for a change. While you still have, like, say, Finn and Tupeludu and Duan, they're still going to be around maybe for the next World Cup cycles. I think maybe now could be something fresh, a new voice in the change room. I think while where the squad is now, I think it's time for a change.
I think you're spot on as well, Cooks. And you and I have spoken about it, that Townsend is often just moaning after games. He's got something to moan about every time. Is it a referee decision? Is a player again taken off with the HIA because of the mouth guard technology? Or is it the TMO that's made a crap call right at the end, or a yellow card that should have been? And there's not much like talk about how they let the game split, let the game go, or like sometimes it's just a sense of, oh no, we're unlucky. So I 100% agree with you. I think he's done a fantastic job to get Scotland where they are now and into the position that they are now. But perhaps it is a time for a change. Who that coach is that should come in, I'm not entirely sure. But I think there's some good options out there that they could go for. And perhaps like I doubt he'll want to go for it, but Townsend is a classy attack coach, and maybe you should go into that position, or they bring in a more hands-on head director of rugby on top.
Interesting times ahead. Scotland currently third, with a very good chance of finishing above France in this tournament. They could very well finish second, and everyone wants to get rid of their coach. Well, I do agree with you guys. I think there's something there that's missing, but it's hard. Like, if you ever look at the results and how they are, like, granted, their World Cup went tits up. They really struggled to come back from things after the Springboks beat them. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how you're going to do it, because it would be hard to get rid of him altogether. But I don't see him relinquishing the head coach job to do something else.
Yeah, no, 100%, and you would be silly to do that as a coach as well. So yeah, I definitely think there's scope for them to improve. And Test rugby is small margins, and unfortunately, in the big games, the Scotland are just not getting those small margins. And yeah, Steve Tandy coming in made a big difference on their defense. Peter de Villiers made a big difference in their scrums, and they're actually one of the better scrumming teams in the world at the moment. But there's still that little thing that's missing. And yeah, they certainly have when they have a fully fit squad, they certainly have the players to win the Six Nations, but they're just not realizing that potential.
Yeah, if ever was going to happen, it was going to happen this year. So we'll see what happens. Right, putting Scotland to bed, we're going to what was comfortably the match and the result of the weekend. The world's number one greatest side ever in the history of the world got beaten by dodgy England. Kooks, sure, the Irish pundits must be struggling at the moment, because can't remember who it was, said that the only way England will win if Ireland were down to 13 men.
Jamie
But
Heaslip.
was it Jamie?
Yeah.
Jamie, that's his second, well, not his second boo-boo, but that's like quite a glaring boo-boo. I mean, from the very first time he posted on Twitter, should I start a podcast? And I think it was like 87% said no. So absolute gold. But
I'm guessing we're not getting Jamie Heaslip to come on rugby bits then.
no, we must get him on. We can launch that podcasting career for him if he's interested. But Kooks, like, let's take a step back here. Like, there are very few people that thought England could beat Ireland, even at Twickenham. If you're looking at how Ireland are, how they've recovered from the World Cup, and the team that they put out there. But Steve Borthwick has clearly really unpacked how to beat Ireland. Because when you look at the World Cup quarterfinal, like, the way that game went, you didn't look at that and go, the All Blacks have figured out how to beat Ireland. I didn't get that feeling from that game. But this England win, it almost feels like that to me.
Can I say, Shaq, I don't think England probably unlocked a way to beat Ireland. As good as England were, Ireland will be more upset at the fact that at how they let their game slip. I mean, they were leading at half time. Then they had those two tries they conceded in the second half. So even even close to the end, I mean, Ireland sort of found a way to get themselves back in the lead when James Lowe scored again. And I think for me, it's not, it was more the build up, because obviously England played the chip on their shoulder. I don't think, if they play 10 times, I still think, I think Ireland wins 9 times. That's the one time that England wins this. It's just that emotional performance a team can sort of pull off, once or twice a season, back against the wall. And I do think, Ben Hill mentioned it in his post-match commentary. It's like, that was a big motivation factor for England, is the fact that how they were written off, and how Ireland, the pundits, like the pundits were basically hyping Ireland up and saying that they were they're up there with the 2015 All Blacks and things like that. And, for those 2 weeks, and that how they're the best team in the world. And, the Saracens are dying in front of their eyes, and English rugby was a low level. It pushes the team off eventually. I mean, like, we saw the opposite of that with the English when the World Cup final 2019, when they basically were saying that England had one hand on the trophy. So I think with England, it's more that, and yes, I mean, they're fantastic. It's more the big emotional pull, the chip on the shoulder, that sort of carried them through. But I do think, for example, they play next week, I think Ireland wins. If it was, let's say, the first game of the Six Nations, without all this bullshit that the Ireland pundits built up, Ireland wins that game. So I don't think they've maybe found a way to unlock the Irish, but I thought England, it's definitely definitely was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, what an incredible! It was fueled by a lot, Jared.
Yeah, I just want to point out that I said on Tuesday last week that it stinks of South Africa versus England in the semi-final,
Yeah.
that England were completely written off. I certainly gave them a chance of beating Ireland this past weekend. And when I said it stinks of the semi-final, England went and won by a point with a winning kick right at the end. So they harnessed the feelings or the vibes of the Springboks of last year. So, yeah, I think we played a big role in that win over Ireland. I think Rassie can put that in the back pocket, take that to the bank, get some extra credits over there.
We go.
But yeah,
Jared.
I do think there was a lot of emotion that fueled that game. But I think it's a bit of a disservice to England to put it purely down to emotion. I think they were tactically smart. They made some. I don't think Borthwick is the best selector going, but he made some good decisions in getting George Martin in his starting pack along with Chisholm to slow down the Irish pack. And yeah, then Ben Orr goes and puts in a career-defining performance as well. So I think they had a lot going for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. It was so weird seeing Martin at 5 and Chisholm at 6. Like, do you have them both on the field? Do you expect it to be the other way around? But a great move on his part. And talking about selections, the other big one, and it was actually something I wanted to chat to you about, was the George Furbank at 15. That was very interesting for me. I don't think I would have gone with that. I don't think Furbank is. I don't really rate him as highly as other people do. I've just the little bits I've watched of him just haven't really kind of struck me as something. I mean, he's a great finisher, but I just didn't think that he had the goods really to perform. And you're going to go up against Ireland, you have to perform. You have to, otherwise you'll get found out. And he was incredible. But I think the biggest thing while he is there is for his counter attack ability. And something that we've mentioned is where they were lacking. Like England have fullbacks where you're either great under the high ball and you're solid on D, or you are a counter-attack wizard.
Yeah, you see, the way I see it is that, like, Freddie Stewart is largely a one-trick pony. Like, he's great under the high ball, but he doesn't offer that, like, a hell of a lot outside of that. Yeah, actually, his kicking game's pretty decent, but yeah, that sort of lends to the high ball. But he doesn't bring any kind of playmaking ability from the fullback jumper. His defense is quite average, even for a fullback. So George Furbank has been pulling up trees for Northampton Saints this season, so I think it's a fair selection, and he offers just a little bit more. Like, where you lose under the hard ball with Freddie Stewart, you gain so much more around the park. You can come in as that second receiver, and we sort of forget, but England have been playing with two receivers, at least two playmakers in their backline with George Ford or Marcus Smith and Owen Farrell at 12 for the last 15 years, feels like. So when you lose something like that, you do need to get another playmaker in the team, and you can't always count on your wingers to do that kind of work when you're playing like Elliot Daly on the wing, or you got it in the 13 channel with Henry Slade. You do want a little bit more closer to the action. So yeah, I think it's been a good move, and it's been a profitable one for Borthwick and for Furbank.
Yeah. Kooks, Emmanuel Faye-Waboso got his starting call up, and against Ireland, it was quite a big shot. There was a funny story, funny story coming out about how he just kept saying thank you. He just kept saying thank you to Steve Borthwick, just like, thank you for picking me, thank you. Like, it was awesome. He seems like such a humble and amazing kid, but more importantly, well, not more importantly, should I say, but his rugby is incredible. What a great performance! I thought he was flipping deadly, and it was great to see him starting.
Yeah, I thought it was great as well. I mean, you can see the shackles of not having to do right to a doctor's exam had on him. He just like took all his frustrations and studying stress on the poor Irish defenders. But he's one of those guys that like you get like you sort of almost jump up your seat when he gets the ball. I mean, I really do like his game a lot, and I think he's been a good breath of fresh air for England, especially in the attack. And you're starting to see what Borthwick wants to sort of put together and on attack. And I do think that someone like Faye-Waboso will play a key part into that. And I think, Sharky, you love to mention balance, and I think he does bring a good balance into that into that back three. I mean, with him, Freeman and Furbank. So it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, what happens with the whole Freddie Stewart situation. But I really do think at the moment, I mean, they probably have a back three that they could probably go with again this weekend, and maybe potentially into that series against the All Blacks in July.
Yeah. Jared, Ben Earl, wow, what a performance! Yeah. But he picked the best time to do it, and the best part about his performance was that it was dovetailing with everybody else. Like, he wasn't man alone.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I was speaking to a colleague on Friday evening before the England game, and I was saying to him, I don't know how Ben Earl is getting in this England team. Like, for me, I wouldn't even have him in the England back row.
Saying that.
And
what?
I feel like he's quite overrated. And then he went and made me eat my words on Saturday. So I think he's starting
before Saturday, Jared.
Yeah,
but before Saturday, he's been performing. Who else do you put at 8?
Chandler Cullinan and South, for one. I think they
would love to see him there.
They could definitely use with Lewis Ludlam if he wasn't going to England to France. Like, I think he's a great player as well. I do think that they have options. Zach Mercer, a bit of a ruck inspector, but he's still a quality player. So they definitely have options.
It's hard to pick him when he's on the squad, eh?
Well, sure. I mean, they could go Tom Willis as well if they look outside of the squad. So yeah, they do have options, and yeah, I think he's starting to turn into that Quagga Smith kind of player where I thought, no, there's no ways he's going to make it at Test Rugby, and then it's quickly making me eat my words. And I've said to you before, I'm happy to be proven wrong, and I think I am this time. Well, so far this Six Nations, he's really shot up. I thought he was decent during the World Cup, but he's really like up to a couple of notches during the Six Nations.
Yeah, I agree with you on Chandler Cunningham South. I think he'd be a good 8, and we've seen him play 8 before. But I think in the current setup in England, I think his place is going to be blindside flank moving forward. But I thought Ben Earl has done enough during the World Cup and the Six Nations to warrant his starts.
Yeah, well, if they carry on with Chisholm at 6 and George Martin at lock with Itoje, they could just go Chandler at 8 and have Earl at 7 going forward.
That would be,
and then you got Tom Curry
yeah,
coming back at some stage as well. So yeah, really throws. They got some good options in the back row, like a lot of countries do. But yeah, like I said, I think it was a career-defining performance from Ben Orr, and if he can build on that, then he's seriously becoming a top international player.
Yeah. Cooks, I really thought Maro Toje and George Ford had great games. I think George Ford has been abused a little bit just purely because of his place kicking, but he's an unsung hero for me in that game. Any other players that stood out for you?
Well, I'm glad you gave a good shout out to George Ford. I mean, yeah, shame. I mean, he did. He was using Paulo Garbisi's tea. That was the problem. I think that was the issue. But I think Jared last time Jared was on, we did mention that his attacking ability sort of went to shit for a stage, and it was nice to actually see it back, and then actually him taking it back to the gain line and playing the way. And I still think that, and even till I mentioned it on Twitter, is there is a place for both Ford and Smith, and I do like the option of having Smith on the bench. And I thought, I must give Steve Borthwick some credit here, because lots of credit. I did mention that last 2 weeks ago the balance of his side was wrong. I thought he managed the side very well, especially the bench, because the bench made such a massive difference. And I thought he got his subs on perfectly, and getting Marcus Smith back, getting him on as when he did. So I thought to give Steve Borthwick some love. I thought he had a great game, and I think obviously England will definitely build on from this. The nice thing about England is, and Jared, you'll know, I mean, you staying there now, is as much as we all wrote them off last week, and people sort of us the Africans getting more pissed off at the Irish. England again will probably some pundit will put this thing today on saying that England are the best in the world, and hype them up again and just piss us Africans off again. So, and then we'll go back to hating them. So that's a nice thing about England, is that they'll be consistent in that way. We'll go back to hating them soon.
Yeah. Like one poor performance next weekend, and England are in dire straits, and Steve Borthwick's head's on the chopping block again. So, yeah, it's a wild roller coaster, and I can't remember where I heard it last week, but there was the question of who would want to actually be England head coach. Like, it is not a great job. Like, a lot of the reason why Eddie Jones got moved out was the media pressure and just the outside noise and that kind of thing. So it's a tough gig. And yeah, I think Borthwick is a little bit boring. So I don't think he ends up reading the paper and that kind of thing. So he doesn't get too hyped up about it. So fair play to him. Yeah, I think England are building quite nicely, and it's going to be a real test for them come July when they go off to New Zealand and they go up against Razor's men, because it's a complete clash of styles if Robertson is going with his sort of Crusaders blueprints, sort of mixing it in with what the All Blacks already have.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, that job is a payday job, or a job of pure passion if you're English. We're talking about England and how things can just go bad for them, but the truth is, as of today and up until this weekend, England are still in with a shot of winning the Six Nations. Now, wouldn't that be quite something? I mean, in the final round, Wales play Italy, but then Ireland play Scotland. Are Scotland good enough to come back and burn the Irish twice? And then England, France. That could be quite interesting. But Jared, I want to say there were quite a few guys that were anonymous for Ireland, but that's probably a little harsh. I mean, the game was 23-22. Ireland were very much in it and lost it after the hooter with a drop kick from Marcus Smith. But there were a couple of guys that really didn't do what we expected. Like Joe McCarthy, he was there and thereabouts. I didn't think he was too badly off the boil, but the big one for me was Tag Byrne, and Peter O'Mahony. They really were taken out of the game. England were incredible in that space.
Yeah, I think England targeted a lot of individuals. I thought Tag still had a decent game, but like you say, he's been phenomenal throughout the tournament, and then this was sort of a quieter game for him. So I think Burns like Peter Steph Toy, like if it's a quiet game for him, he's still playing at like incredibly high standard. But yeah, otherwise there were definitely some very average performances and a few guys that were just shy off of their best.
Yeah. It's amazing how fine these margins are in Test rugby. You look at the history of where England are getting up into the space and where Ireland are getting into the space. Cooks, there were two shining lights for me for Ireland. One was James Lowe. He, to me, could probably be the hardest to replace when he retires. I think England are relying on him and how he clears and what he does. Ireland are doing it and relying on him a lot. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens moving forward for them because of his massive left boot. The other one is Jamison Gibson Park. That guy, I mean, he's a world class nine, but he's also a test level winger by the looks of things.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Gibson Park is fantastic. I mean, he's grown into a very, very good, almost world class nine. Since every year, sort of gotten better and become a bigger role into that Irish side. And James Lowe, like you said, he's got that massive left boot, which has been an absolute weapon for them, especially now when you've got a youngish 10. So they've got two options now of Gibson Park and James Lowe's left boot sort of minimize or take the load off of Jack Crowley, especially with the kicking game. But I just think with James Lowe, what he offers an attack as well. I mean, it's just you saw the best of it on the weekend. One is an incredible finisher, and also his ability to come off the wing and even play as a second playmaker. Pop up
He's a big
everyone.
man.
Yeah, so you are right. He's going to be so hard to replace, like with if you're to leave, because like there's not many James Lowe's out there. I mean, well, they're all playing in New Zealand, so unless they're planning to to go to the Super Rugby again and
Very
find
few
out,
wingers with a left boot like that.
yeah, just go to Super Rugby and ask another wing who's been like on All Black, knocking on the All Black door. I'm like, listen, do you mind come to Ireland for 3 years and you can be an international? So
can I say something? If there's a very good reason why James Lowe left New Zealand rugby to go to Ireland or anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, is because if his career would have been gone 20 years ago if he kicked on the wing in New Zealand.
yeah. No, 100%. So yeah, so that's like I said the other day. That's going to be interesting with Ireland because there's a few players who are, in that mid-30s region who might not make it to the next World Cup, and it's going to be interesting to see how they find replacements for them. And but I thought it was also good on the weekend was Bandi Aki again. I thought he was good as well.
Massive fan.
Yeah, and I just think with Ireland, it's, again, I genuinely like, I mean, it's more of a kick in the nuts than anything else, and I think they'll be fine again next week. It's just one of those things where, unfortunately, it's just you played England at the wrong time, wrong place, wrong time. Sometimes a team with a chip on their block, and like, I mean, they still had chances to win that game, Ireland, and they were leading at parts of it, and then so I don't think it should be panic stations for them this weekend.
Yeah, interesting. So Ireland have not used their 6-2 splits until 2024. Do you see Ireland changing things up now that the 6-2 split hurt them?
100%. They're starting a podcast probably today, but talking about how it's negating the rules and how it only works for the Springboks and no one else. Guys, I've never seen even on the weekend. I think who was I watching in the Super Rugby game? I think it may have been the Cheese, but where they lost both backline reserves in 6-2 in a matter of like a minute. I was like, oh, geez, okay, there goes the 6-2 just vanished quickly. So no, it was the Blues, sorry. So I think so I feel like we've got this muti or this thing where we don't lose our backline players in 6-2, and every team keeps trying it and it keeps failing for them. So if I'm Ireland,
it has hurt us quite a bit in the past. Like if you remember with Grant Williams on debut, like 30 seconds in, and
yes,
we had a 60 that day as well.
Jesse Creel took a knock. Yeah, and Faf.
Yeah. I think it does. It does happen to us every now and then, but I don't think Ireland. Cooks, I disagree with you. I don't think Ireland will be throwing it out completely just yet. Like they still were within 1 point, and Jamison Gibson Park moved to the wing and then produced a phenomenal assist for Hugh
Yeah,
Keenan, and they almost won the game. So I don't think they'll be like ditching it immediately because it still worked. It was just I think like most of the Ireland players are generally like a 7 out of 10 at least every single test match, and I think they were like a 6.5, and that like collective drop off allowed
100%.
England to back into the game, and England targeted certain players. Like I think that's one of the quietest games Caelan Doris has had in a very long time.
Oof.
Um,
Only time I saw him when he
yeah,
was talking to the ref.
yeah. So yeah, I like Bundy. Like in the first 20 minutes was phenomenal, but he was just running at the soft shoulder of George Ford, and then all of a sudden England were like, okay, cool, we need to actually do something about this, and they like basically put Ben Orr like in place of George Ford to protect him, and then Bundy's impact was a hell of a lot less than it was in the first 20 minutes. So they adapted well, but yeah, like I said, going back to the 6-2 splits, I think they will stick with it. Maybe not against Scotland. I think they might go back against Scotland, but I think they've been using the 6-2 to test it out, and they'll play it in the 2 test matches against South Africa in July.
Oof. Interesting times. Right. Wrapping up the game of the weekend. So, quick shout out to Marcus Smith. We've hardly even mentioned his name. He's come on, done pretty well, but then he's gone and absolutely slotted the winner. Incredible scenes. But Marcus Smith and the referee, Jared, I know you want to have a chat about that.
What happened with the referee?
No, just how good he was,
Oh,
and
yeah.
giving a penalty at the end.
No, Nico was a great referee once again. But the one thing that I do want to talk to you about with Marcus is, will England actually be ruining the fact that he went for a drop goal and they didn't try eke out another try? Like, I love a drop goal at the end of a game, but England score another try, they end the weekend on 13 league points and just 3 behind Ireland. Now they end on 12 and they 4 behind Ireland. So they have to get a bonus point victory in the last game
Ooh,
to be able to.
You are
interesting.
you are judging. You are going on the assumption that England, through all the shit they've been through the last couple months, were going to outmaul Ireland, who are one of the best maul defenders in the world.
Oh, they didn't have to go for
Like,
more. They had a penalty advantage. They could have gone another few pick and goes and maybe a potential. Like Smith has been very good with those
oh,
cross kicks inside the opposition 22. I'm just saying, like
in an
there was.
alternate universe, I wish we could be having this conversation that they went for the try and they screwed it. I wish.
But the thing
And
is that
Ireland win.
they still had the penalty advantage, a relatively
And I
easy
got you.
kick,
I got
and
you. You go
like
for the win. You've got to go for the
yeah,
win.
I
Okay,
understand you got to go for the win, but they could have got that extra bonus point try. So yeah, I'm putting the question out there: will they miss it, or is Ireland just going to go win the Six Nations next weekend, and it doesn't matter?
what Jared is basically saying is that that Marcus Smith drop goal is going to go down the same way as Matt Dunning's drop goal back a couple of years ago when the Tars needed a bonus point for a drop kick.
That
Jared
Dunning,
is saying,
that Dunning,
we'll celebrate it now, but it's like, oh, Marcus, why you go for the drop goal? Like, you and Matt Dunning in the same WhatsApp
oh,
group now.
that Dunning drop kick knocked them out of the Super Rugby contention. I remember he
Yeah,
just put his hands up to celebrate, and then he put his hands straight in his head, like, oh shit. I've seen
yeah.
Yeah.
In the Champions Cup back in the day, Dimitriashvili. No, it wasn't Dimitriashvili. It was Morgan Parra for Clermont. He also, I think he slotted a drop goal or did something silly that knocked them out of the Champions Cup back in the day when the Champions Cup was win all your home games. But yeah, Jared, I hear you, but I think I don't think against Ireland you are taking another chance because you don't slot those points, so then you are behind, and then what are you doing? Kicking a penalty? Marcus Smith's pretty good. That was one option, or do you set up you set up for driving more. I think getting the win is probably first and foremost against Ireland there and then.
No, it's
Cooks,
fair enough,
Jared,
but
Jared.
I think some of these the entire Six Nation is pretty much going to be decided on small, like collective small moments throughout the tournament. The non-try against between Scotland and France, France's try that Oliver scored against in the Italy test, the ball falling over for Garbisi. So, like I'm saying, it's small moments, and I think that's just another small moment that's sort of decided the tournament. Ireland have a nice buffer going into the last match, like 80 points difference. Like it's just going to be hard to overturn, even if somebody can hit 16 points. But I don't think anyone's going to.
Yeah. Okay, Cooks, going on to Wales versus France. I'm just going to go out and say it. I really think Wales, I think they screwed the pooch there. It was like one punch given, one punch received the whole way through. But France, as you mentioned, managed to find their way and how to play rugby. I think a big thing for me, which I'm very surprised about, the French conceded just 3 penalties that entire game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the discipline was great, but cheap is like, I think we tweeted it, I put in the group first and just going, what the hell has happened to the French defense? The way that the ease in which at the beginning that Wales was running through them. It's not like Wales have got flipping Lucanio Am or flipping what do you call it, Hugh Jones at 13, but just like running rings around them. I was like, even like the Rio Dyer try, you're like, cheap, it's so it was so it's just so unlike France, especially how the defense has almost been their backbone in the last 4 years. So that was interesting. But shame, I know you're saying Wales screw the push, but you could see that the difference they need the difference with experience. You know, the guys who the French are bringing off the bench. I mean, you see Mofari, you still have the likes of like Malvaka's coming on, and then like Luke. Yes, even though Luke probably would be a flipping veteran in that Wales side if he played for Wales. The number of kids came on, and I just think France was just also just too experienced and just too strong. I mean, shame that I was feeling bad at scrum time for that poor Welsh side. I mean, the way they just couldn't physically just couldn't front up. But yeah, it's a good win for France. Now to see them back, and like Eric put it, so glad to see him starting at 9. He was very good. But yeah, again, I think with Wales, there's lots of positives for them to take out there, and I think unfortunately closing games out comes with experience and being in those situations, and that's unfortunately the lesson that they'll take from the Six Nations, where there have been moments where if there's just a little bit more experience, they'll probably find a way to win.
Yeah. Interesting time. Jared, did the Welsh just run out of steam? Like, could they just not keep up with it? We mentioned, and we all know that they've got a young side and they're busy working through a lot at the moment. But I thought the opportunity to put take the French a lot closer than they did was there.
Yeah, I think it was certainly there. I think we sort of saw a little bit of like the depth coming into play. Like the Welsh starting 15 could sort of box with the French, but once the French replaced their heavyweights and brought on an entirely new heavyweight pack, it was just tickets for them. Because I think that was the benches was where it really there was a stark difference. And perhaps Wales having, I've seen it thrown around quite a bit, Wales having a guy like Gareth Anscombe or particularly Dan Bigger in a fly half would have like helped them a lot in that game and keeping
Reece Patchell
in it. Reece, no, I'm not too sure about Patch, but definitely Bigger would have kept them in it. Like but yeah, like when you pull him
when
off,
Sam Costello came off. When Sam Costello came off with 20 minutes to play, like the wheels almost came off as well.
yeah,
But the whole bench struggled.
yeah. Well, we're talking about like a lot of the inexperience of Wales, but then like Gareth Davis doing a box kick without any protection with Roman Tafifanua right there, like that's just plain stupid. Like it was great by the French lock, but you got to experience scrum half that's kicking without any pillars or blockers to help him out. Like, what do you think's going to happen? So there is some inexperience that came into it, but there was just some like stupidness from Wales, and I think they were like the starting French pack softened them up, and then the finishing French pack just bulldozed them at the end. Like you take off Uni Antonio, and you maybe lose like 3 kilograms when you bring on Jaws Henry Colum. Like that's insane.
Depends what
And
they
then
have for
you've got
breakfast.
yeah, exactly. Like then you've got the two tough with Fanuas coming off of the bench, Mufaka, Romat. I did Paul Bunderhurst actually even get on the pitch. I don't think he did, or if he did, he only got like a few minutes. But yeah, you're taking off all these heavy players, all these big players, and you're just putting on a whole new pack. So I think it's the first time this Six Nations that France's bench has actually come to the party, and
Yeah.
Gaultier has actually got the best out of his substitutions. Like some of them have just been like maddening and stupid throughout the Six Nations, but this time he seemed to have got it right. And like Cook said, like seeing Le Garrick actually take his chance, and like we must remember that France were playing like Toulouse's Clayton Bromwich at fly half and still managed to get a win out of this game. Like they seriously, the pack did a lot of work in this one.
Yeah. Before we jump onto France, I think the one thing, Cooks, you mentioned Rio Dyer. I've been so impressed with him since he's got his chance with Wales. He's a great player, and it's so good to watch him. He fights really hard. But one thing for me that looks dead certain is the loose trio are going to be taking them forward for a while. So Daffer Jenkins, Tommy Raphael, and Aaron Wainwright. It's hard to move away from them. They're shining lights for the Welsh side at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they've been incredible. I mean, all the games. I think, geez, Wainwright, I mean, he's probably up there for player of the tournament. I mean, he's had a very, very good tournament in a losing outfit, shame. But I mean, he's been very good. But yeah, right. I think if there's ever if they're looking for a foundation for their side, it's probably going to be with that loose trio. I think that's the shining light of the side. I think those are probably, those are probably the players that that Wales know. Like Jared likes to say, they're going to get at least 7 or 10 out of them, and they're going to be. And if Wainwright's and they can give them outstanding performances from there, and I think their worst is their ceiling is 7 or 10. I mean that's where they're going to be most games. So that's the only probably form of consistency at the moment that Wales have is a loose trio. So unfortunately now they're gonna try and search that in other key positions. So, but I mean, flipping home, and I've loved watching those three go to work this tournament, and they've been very good.
And we sort of need to remember they're going to get Faletau and Jack Morgan back in that back row. So, yeah, somebody's going to filter onto the bench. You'll probably see Rafal filter onto the bench, and you're getting a good 20 minutes out of Rafal off the bench in key test matches.
I think you start turnover, Tommy. I think he's too good not
with
to start.
Morgan.
Very interesting. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, we'll see. They seem to be flooded with Lucy's South Africa 2.0. But Jared, France win 45-24, so a comfortable win for them in the end. But the thing that we were complaining about the most about France was the loss of Antoine Dupont and how they were trying to run everything through 9 and it wasn't working and they weren't balancing it out. But Nolan Le Garrick, who we've all been patiently waiting for to come and have this performance, has gone and done it. So it seems like he's going to be starting for them moving forward.
Yeah, well, until Dupont comes back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe he won't. Maybe he'll stay in sevens forever.
I think Dupont's been watching the Six Nations and he's like, okay, when I come back, like, sorry, Luku, that jersey's mine. And for the first time in the Six Nations, he's like, do I really want to go to the Olympics? Are we going to get gold? Should I rather be coming back for the July internationals? Yeah. Although, like, that's, we'll sort of see what happens in the last weekend of the tournament. But Le Garrick really took his chance well, and he's also got that place kicking with him. and like I said, he played with an absolute nutter at fly half, and he still managed to put in a good performance. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how it goes forward, and it's nice for France to have such nice depth in that position, and that pass was just beautiful.
Oh,
I saw a thread coming out of all those French players that have thrown those passes, like Baptiste Seran. He was
but none of them
also
were in test matches, eh?
yeah. No, there was. Also, I can't remember the name. JB. He played for the Toulon. Shawn.
Hmm.
Uh,
Oh,
I'm going.
yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll get his name now. You can carry on.
Yeah.
The
So
guy with the biggest shoulders in the world.
yeah, it's a Lade. I can't remember his name. But yeah, that's that. It's great for France to have such incredible depth at scrum off, and yeah, sort of. I think it was also a bit of a tough one for Wales to defend with Ramos playing 10, because you just don't know what's coming at you. Like I
Yeah.
think like Damien Penaud and Thomas Ramos, I don't think they know what they're going to do until the absolute last second, and then they do it anyway.
Yep.
Like they
True
even if
story.
they have that, I don't think they have that like conscious thought of should I be doing this. I think they just like, cool, let's do this. So yeah, there was some like very average things about France, some very average defense, like we've spoken about. But they were quite ruthless in that last 20 minutes, and it just sort of shows the importance of the pack again. And like they got Miafu making his debut, he had a pretty damn good game, and then they bring Tafu Fanua off the bench, and then this week they go and they call up Tuilagi again after he was sick and missed the game. So having those three big boys as your blindside or your tight head lock is a big bonus.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to the commentators who tried to play down the Nolan Legaric absolutely wild passes, something along the lines of he didn't know where he was passing. I completely disagree. He knew exactly where he was going. But Kooks, I mean, we've got Legaric playing a great game. We've got Thomas Ramos, who's unstoppable kicking off the tee. But for me, the wingers, but specifically Damien Penaud, that man was incredible. He was in a mood. He was in that crazy mood. He was in that crazy mood with focus. He was almost, I want to say unstoppable, but I don't even think he scored a try. But they did stop him. But my word, he was at the heart of everything for them.
No, he was good. I mean, it was it almost felt like whenever you got the ball, he was running about 20 meters every time you get the ball. I mean, he was amazing on the weekend, and you almost like thinking too, and like he's also like deceptively quick off the mark. He doesn't look it when he's running. Like it does. It's very like a nonchalant run and a nonchalant run. So like, but I mean, man, he was cooking on the weekend because he has been relatively quiet this whole Six Nations. So it was nice to see him. To see him have a good day. I thought obviously Bill Bai he's oh jeez he's Fran's got an absolute gem there. I still cannot believe he's still 22 and 21.
Yo, I rate him, eh?
Like he is such a good player. I really enjoyed him. But what did you guys think of the is it Deporte, the 12? I thought he went nicely on debut.
Yeah, he wasn't as ruthless as I thought he'd be. But then again, I mean, this is Test rugby and he is on debut, so probably sort of needed to settle in a little bit. But him and Leo Barre were brilliant. I thought they were. I think once the first little bits got out the way, they were pretty handy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I did. I think it was quite a few test debut nerves, and yeah, he got caught a bit flat-footed with that one try. I'm trying to think who scored it for Wales, where they called out the obstructing line. But like as a centre, he should be doing like a little bit better. But he is also like 7 years old, so you can like write it off.
7 years old, 10 foot tall.
Yeah. Like you can sort of write it off a little bit. But yeah, a lot of these France players, like Galtier seems to like give them the confidence to just go out there and do their thing. And like a lot of he's just happy to throw an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old in for their debut and just go straight in the starting lineup and do their thing.
Right. Let's look ahead to this weekend coming. Wales, Italy. I think the shining light for Wales is they scored so much against France and were in the mix. But they're facing an Italian side who are definitely hunting another win. Kooks, how do you see that unfolding?
I must say it must be strange for Italy because they'll probably be the favorites for this weekend, and it's a different place to be than being the underdogs. That's what they're used to. So I think I definitely think Italy will keep the momentum going forward. I think they've been good the last two games. I mean, the French game and then against Scotland. So I definitely think that they'll keep the momentum going. I'm hoping the Italian coaches are listening to us and they'll make sure they pack the right tea for Garbisi. But I just think that Italy might have too much for Scotland. I mean, for Wales, sorry.
Okay. Jared, Italy or Wales?
I think we're going to get a bit of an England performance out of Wales this weekend, where a lot of people are going to write off Wales, and Gats is going to fire up his team, and they're actually going to pull off a win. I don't think it's going to be very easy for Wales to do, but yeah, Wales have lost their last 5 games, and like losing is just as much of a habit as winning is. So I think like they'll be hell bent on getting that winning feeling back, and like this is sort of their chance to do it. Yeah, you sort of have to wonder: is Gatling, does he have enough credits in the bank for the last 12 years or whatever to stay in the job if he does lose this one and they finish last, or are Wales going to go for another a new head coach again?
Yeah.
I think he's safe enough for now, but like if they lose to Italy, like there will be questions about it and it will be spoken
Absolutely.
about. But I just think that Wales are going to be pumped up for this one. And yes, Italy have already like got the draw against France in France. They got the win in Rome that they've been looking for a long time. But the Principality is a cauldron of itself, and I think Wales get the win this time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really just hope Italy. I hope Italy don't fold. That's what I want. I think we all want to see continuity and see Italy move forward. Jared, also remember that Gatlin also, when he went back to Wales, said something along the lines of, "I didn't realize it was this bad." So yeah.
Yeah.
Kooks, not the match of the weekend, and that's definitely Le Crunch, which is awesomely playing last out of this. But Ireland, Scotland. Now, Scotland are going to have a little bit of a bee in their bonnet about the loss this weekend. Ireland too. Ireland at their Viva, a win in front of the home fans secures the Six Nations. Do you see it going any other way?
No, also not on St. Paddy's weekend. They do tend to always put a performance when it's St. Paddy's weekend. I think the interesting thing on this game is, what if Ireland, for example, give Scotland a bit of a pasting this weekend? I think that could maybe change thinking in Scotland in terms of Gregor Townsend. So there could be.
Oof.
It's almost similar to like what Jared mentioned with Warren Gatland. But I can't. I wouldn't be surprised that Scotland had to win because I mean that's the type of flipping roller coaster ride they are. But I think Ireland bounces back, and I think Scotland could find themselves being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and and Ireland really putting in a performance to make sure that there's not even that the crunch pretty much becomes meaningless, and it's not deciding any trophy. So I think actually I'm surprised to see Ireland winning about more than 15.
Yeah. I think probably the worst time ever to face Ireland now, especially with the Six Nations on the line. Jared,
And also,
do you
and
think
Sharky,
Scotland
remember,
have a snowball's chance in hell? Sorry,
and
Kooks?
Sharky, remember they can't start their best in the world chats without winning Six Nations. So they'll need to have performance to lift the conversation because after the Ireland game, the next game is the box. So they need to put in a proper performance and be like, well, you guys beat them by this much in the World Cup. Look what we've done. So we're back to being the best in the world.
I love it.
Yeah, Shocky, I think I'm gonna go with Kooks on this one. like it sounds weird that he's like puts 15 on there, and you think, oh, that sounds like a lot. But I've just looked at the last like 3 results. The last one was 22 points. Ireland won in the World Cup. They won by 15 in the Six Nations last year, and the game before that it was 21 points. And in 2021, it was the closest with 3 points, with Ireland winning. So, yeah, I think it's a hell of a mountain to climb, and I think Cooks is right. Maybe the talk around Townsend's future really heats up if they do get a pasting of 20 points. So, and I think it's very likely, really, really likely. Like, I think Ireland could finish the tournament the way they started it. And I mean, we are all quite shocked about how Ireland put France to the sword in the opening game. And it could be the same, because they won't have been happy with what happened at Twickenham.
Yeah. So hashtag Gregor out coming from the rugby bits. Sorry to everyone who's a fan. Right, on to, I think probably it's very likely going to not really matter. There is this game in terms of the log points. But I mean, should Scotland somehow beat Ireland, the crunch 10 p.m. on Saturday night is going to be massive. France and England both finding themselves as a team and getting wins this weekend. But these big late kickoffs, it's I'm having flashbacks from the World Cup. Kooks, I reckon England are in with a massive shot. I think France are still a little bit wobbly, even though they found themselves. I reckon England could take this. They're not scared of winning away either.
I think as good as England were on Saturday, I think that game on the weekend is will have taken it out of them. I think the fact, if it was a Twickenham, I would have probably said maybe they could, but I think the fact going to France, I think for them it might be just a week too far. So I don't think it'll be a pace thing, but I think France. I do see France winning. I think France has sort of turned the corner from the start of from the Six Nations. So yeah, I think I can only see a French win this weekend.
Yeah, Cooks, I think you're sort of right. I think the one thing that does play in France's favour is that they're not at the Stade de France. Or plays in England favour is that they're not at the Stade de France anymore, and they playing the game in Lyon. I think that does have a little bit of an impact. I think France definitely prefer playing at the Stade de France. So yeah, maybe that plays into it a little bit. But I definitely think it's going to be closer than the 40-point pacing that they got the last time, and England are going to put up a good fight. I think it's going to be a very, very close one, but I'd probably put France by a little bit, and it might just come down to the kicking again. Like they've got Thomas Ramos kicking off the tee. If George Ford does what he did this past weekend, or Marcus Smith isn't hitting the mark, then yeah, I think it might just come down to the kickers.
Yeah, that sounded very difficult for you, Jared. And that is going to wrap up this episode of the Rugby Bits podcast. Kooks, Jared, thank you so much for joining us, especially you, Jared. We cannot thank you enough for joining us. Kooks, you're a regular and we love you too, my man. But to everyone, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you next week. Bye, guys.
Yes, guys.
Cheers.